Lawmakers, as I just said, up in Alaska met secretly today on the Palin Troopergate investigation. Republicans have called this investigation politically motivated. Democrats say the scandal shows that Governor Palin abused the power of her office. So who's right? And just who is Sarah Palin in this regard? Larry personally was the associate director of Governor Palin's office down here in Washington. And James Grimaldo has been covering the Troopergate investigation for the Washington Post. Thank you, James. It's Grimaldi or Grimaldo?
It's Grimaldi.
That's what I would have thought, but it was written up there, Grimaldo. I never heard of that name. Anyway, Grimaldi, thank you, sir. Let me ask you, Larry, what do you think of Governor Palin?
On what
do you think
level?
She should be vice president?
No, I don't think she should be vice president. She's not qualified. She doesn't know what she thinks she knows. She's too immature politically and just doesn't bring anything to the ticket other than this cheerleader we're
Well, how'd
seeing.
she get elected governor of your state?
Because the governor we had before her was so incredibly unpopular. She came in and said, I'm not Frank Murkowski. I'm going to undo every one of his policies. And she does connect with people. I don't think she brings enough to the job in terms of intellect or experience, but she does connect with the public.
What did you make? Can you give me any evidence in regard to something that has bothered some people? She was asked two good questions by CBS's Katie Couric, and I thought there could have been two good answers to it. Assuming she's a conservative, which is what she calls herself, and we have to assume she is, she would have an attitude about the U.S. Supreme Court. Everybody who's a conservative in this country has a strong feeling about the Supreme Court. Everybody. They got involved with prayer in school, outlawing prayer in public school. They got involved in all kinds of issues, like abortion rights. They took a lot of liberal positions as they see it. They could tell you chapter and verse why they don't like the Supreme Court. She couldn't mention anything.
Well, and the governor
doesn't she have any? Are you telling me, having worked with her, she's not intellectually engaged on the issues that matter to most conservatives?
Not intellectually curious, but also the governor of Alaska of any Supreme Court should know the Exxon Valdez case, where the Supreme Court this year came down and said, Exxon, you have only got to pay 20%, 20 cents on the dollar of what the lower court said.
Because of the
Exxon Valdez.
She's also from the Ninth Circuit, which is definitely the most liberal court in the country. And she couldn't explain the attitude about that.
The governor of Alaska should have remembered the Exxon case.
More fundamental, she wouldn't say what she reads on a daily basis. Did she read the papers up there?
I don't know.
Why wouldn't she say she reads the papers? It's just a stupid thing.
She's big on talk radio. She really listens to it. But I guess the question is, even if you don't read the newspapers, remember the names of a couple and just say so you don't sit there looking like you don't read.
You say she's unqualified.
Oh, yeah, no question about it.
Is she guilty of anything in this Troopergate thing? Is there anything real there, just a mucky muck, look for trouble kind of thing?
Criminal, no, but I think she's guilty of forgetting when she became governor, her personal life had to get parked at the door. Personal scores, personal grudges, personal animosity had to stop when she was governor. She and her family had to knock it off, and they didn't.
So when her brother-in-law divorced her sister, she shouldn't have used the head of security up there to kick him off the force?
She shouldn't. She should have just stopped it. When she won the election for governor, she should have stopped, said to the rest of the family, you want to pursue it, that's fine. I'm governor. I can't do this anymore. I shouldn't be doing it anymore.
James, is there any evidence of it? We don't have that report yet tonight as we speak here at late in the afternoon in Washington. We don't have a report from Alaska time. Obviously, they got a lot more time today to make a report.
It's also
based on your reporting is...
They're behind closed doors, and I think the Republicans have an interest in trying to drag out the release of this report. So they're going to ask a lot of questions, and it'll be a while, I think.
Do you think they'll stretch the report to results till after the election in November?
No. I think they probably have the votes to release it. They just want it to be as late on Friday as possible.
Let me ask you, Larry, about her knowledge of the issue. I believe, and I don't want to overstate this because politics can get to be quibbling at times, but John McCain said she's one of the country's great experts. In fact, he actually said something more superlative than that about her ability in the energy field. Right. Is that accurate? Does Governor Palin know energy?
No, I don't think so. She knows some about it, but she's no expert on it. When she ran for governor in 2006, she was off quite a bit when she was asked what's the price of oil that day. She talked I think it was during her Republican National Convention speech or another one afterwards, and talked about Alaska supplying 20% of the nation's oil. Actually, it was a speech afterwards. Alaska's about 12%, not 20%. She just, yesterday at a town hall meeting in Wisconsin, she got it all wrong about federal bans on the export of oil and gas. She's not an expert on it. She just happens to be governor of Alaska who has an interest in it.
Well, what is she, an actress? I mean, an actor? What do you say she is? How come there's a real disconnect between your critique of this political figure who seems to have turned on a lot of people on the right? They love her. I've seen these crowds. They love her, whatever that is, her quality of energy and enthusiasm, right-wing or conservative zeal. they seem to dig it. I mean, look at her. She just basks in applause with these people.
Hey, Chris, if I could jump in here.
You got James. You are in. You in. Just give me a sense of it. Is there just a superficiality to her, or what is her appeal? I mean, 2 years from now, are we going to be talking about her importance on the national scene, win or lose here?
Look, I think she has a very red meat kind of populism that Larry's sort of missing here. You know, he knows maybe where she is on the facts and the circumstances, but I think she has a very gut instinct about this sort of populism, the reformist. That's why the issue of this report might be a little more important than you think, because it may actually hit her at her one Achilles heel. If she's actually shown to have violated state law, according to this investigative report, it may take away the one thing that really resonates. Look, even Republicans are unhappy with the country and the way it's going right now, so they want to look to a conservative populist, and she embodies that in a way that we really haven't seen on the national stage. We certainly really didn't see it too much even in the Republican primary.
So she'll look less like a little person against the system and more like the power of the system.
Exactly. I mean, look, this is how she beat an entrenched incumbent Republican governor, Frank Murkowski, who had that state wired. It was a machine. And she took that machine down and won. Then she went ahead, and that's not all, and beat Tony Knowles, who's no piker. He's an adept and talented Democratic politician in that state. So I really don't think you should underestimate her political skills. You could critique how she's been handled by the media. And let me say, it's clear she reads the Anchorage Daily News. If you go to the ADN website, you can hear her. After the Troopergate story broke, and one of the more damaging stories, they tape recorded a call in which she calls the reporter who wrote it and said, "Hey, I read your story today, and this is not right, and this, I would have said it this way," spinning the guy. She had read every paragraph of that story. I don't have any idea why she answered that Katie Couric question, but to suggest she doesn't read newspapers is silly.
You know, sometimes, Larry, I don't know this person at all, except from what we've all observed of her in a short period of time. A lot of people got Ronald Reagan wrong. They thought because they sat in rooms with him and he didn't know his stuff. Tip O'Neill, my boss, didn't think he knew anything. He'd say he had 3x5 cards, and yet when you stood back, he could talk to the American people in a way nobody else could. Right. He could connect on values like big government and fighting communism in a way that all the experts couldn't. Is it possible you're missing something about her?
No, I think she's not intellectually curious. She's not an expert, but she is a good politician. She can walk in a room. She can read that audience. She knows how to appeal to their emotions, how to strike them in the gut, how to get them behind her.
But lacking in intellectual curiosity.
Right, but that doesn't necessarily, to many voters, disqualify you from elected office. It disqualifies
it for me, because I think that's what the biggest thing we need in politics is people to understand things and care to understand them more deeply. We have a very complicated world out there. And if you're not curious about what's going on in this world economically right now, you're of no help to us in this country.
But as we've talked, she can really get people behind her without dealing with the facts.
You're talking about a demagogue.
Yeah, maybe a small D on demagogue, but there's a bit there.
Thank you, Larry Persley. Thank you very much for joining us. James Grimaldi, thank you from the Washington Post for joining us.